Hello and welcome to This Week in Food. I'm going to go through what I have been cooking in the last few days. All right, so just some background. I went to my sister's house in Baltimore last weekend, and we were there to spend time with each other. And I ended up cooking all the meals, which is wonderful because I love to cook for people, especially for friends and family. And so I'm going to show you what I cooked there. I'm also going to show you some of the meals I cooked recently that are my tried and true. I'm going to show you some that are new recipes that I found online. And I'm going to show you two that I made a query in Chat GPT and made the recipe. So let's get started. So this here is this is one of my tried and true. This is roasted garlic and rosemary Brussels sprouts. And I've made this, I don't know, maybe 150 times or more. And it's very simple to make. So I chop the Brussels sprouts in half. Then I add some chopped garlic and rosemary. And it can be dried rosemary. Then I add some vegetable oil to the mix, a little bit of salt. And then I put it in the air fryer for about 10 to 12 minutes or until I get the level of doneness that I like. And the most important thing is that the outside skin is crispy. That crispy outside skin of Brussels sprouts is number one importancia. So definitely you want to get that. So I made this with the meal at my sister's. This is another meal I made at my sister's. This one I just made on the fly. And this I call garlic stir fry steak with red pepper and onions. And so the base for this is hoisin sauce and soy sauce. So what I did was I cooked the steak in garlic and vegetable oil. And then after the steak was about 80% cooked, I then added some onions and some red peppers. And you can add whatever vegetables you want to it. And the key is that you want to add vegetables that can stand up to being stir fried, that are not going to like wilt like right away. So then for any stir fry that you're going to make in general, you want to have your standard sauces. So one of my standard sauces is hoisin sauce and oyster sauce and soy sauce, so that there's not you pretty much know what you're going to get. And so if it's a weeknight, you want to make something quick, you have your sauce there on the side. So I just made this on the side and it came out really, really well. So I encourage you to like find a sauce that you like and make a nice stir fry. All right, so this is butter and garlic stir fried broccoli. And what I did, this I also made at my sister's. What I did was I melted about a stick of butter and I broke up about two heads of broccoli. Now, I also added some vegetable oil to the butter so that when I added the broccoli, it would get like a kind of crisp to it that I really wouldn't get if I just cooked it straight in the butter. And then I added some salt to it, and it was, oh my God. There is nothing like a buttery, crispy piece of broccoli. It's just the best. This was one of the highlights of the meal at my sister. The one of the two main meals that I made at my sister's. All right, so this here is soy sauce with garlic and rosemary chicken. Very similar to how I made the the Brussels sprouts. So I chopped up a lot of garlic, some rosemary, and I some vegetable oil. Then I mixed that up, and I used thighs. And the thighs were cut open, so they were like kind of like flat. And then I cooked it in the oven on about 380 degrees. You may want to cook it at a higher temperature, but I like it to slow cook. Then around the time it was half cooked, I added some soy sauce, and then every 7 minutes thereafter, I put the sauce on the chicken, and that the oil that comes out that's when it's rendered mixed with the soy sauce is just incredible. It's so simple, but just it's it's really really good. Like I mean, just so few ingredients, and I didn't add any salt because the soy sauce had all of the salt in it. All right, so this was a kind of like a tried and true. It was also an experiment because I make stir fries, but I don't usually make stir fries with sweet peas. I really love sweet peas. So on the right, you have a mushroom fried rice with garlic stir fry steak, and then I got some day old rice, and this is like whenever you're gonna make a fried rice, you always want to use day old rice, at least a day old rice. So I got some day old rice, and I cooked it in garlic and onions, and then I added some soy sauce, hoisin sauce, and a little bit of oyster sauce. Oyster sauce is made with oyster juice. I kind of sometimes like that oysterish taste in my food, and hoisin sauce is kind of like an Asian sweet sauce. And so I cooked the steak in garlic and oil for about 6 minutes, and then added some hoisin sauce, soy sauce, Thai red chili, and then the string beans after the 6 minutes. And then I stir fried the steak and vegetables for another 4 minutes. So the meat is cooking for about 10 minutes. And I cooked it until I stir fried it until the vegetables were al dente. I then plated the rice, and then I put the stir fry steak on top of the rice, and then I topped off the dish with some cilantro and scallion. It's a beautiful dish. It tastes as beautiful as it looks. And it's interesting because I had these sweet peas in my refrigerator. Usually I just eat it as a snack. And I wanted to make something different. And I was like, I've never cooked with sweet peas. How is that going to come out? And it was great. It really had um, I was pleasantly surprised because it was sweet, and I wasn't sure how a sweet bean would work with this, but the hoisin sauce is already sweet, so it really worked out. So that was an experiment, and yeah, I used, like I said, my sauces, my soy sauce, and my hoisin sauce. All right, so the next recipe I'm going to go through are recipes that I found online. So this is a beef and lentil soup. So the contents of the recipe are really good. The You have carrots, you have celery, tomatoes. They all work really well. However, the broth that they called for was a chicken broth, which I thought was kind of strange when I was making it. And so when it was all done, it was a little bit of a disappointment. However, I made 2 cups of lentils, and that's what the recipe called for. And 2 cups of lentils can serve 10 people. So I was eating this for days. And what I actually did was I topped it off with some Mexican hot sauce, and that helped to balance the profile of the stew because the chicken broth kind of just didn't work with it. So next time I make this, I'm definitely going to make this with a beef broth. I can definitely see this working incredibly well with a beef broth. Okay, so this is a classic Caesar salad. There is nothing like a fresh Caesar salad and the dressing made fresh. And I got this from Bon Appetit magazine, and I've been making it like regularly. I started making this about 4 months ago, and so some of the ingredients that are included in a fresh Caesar salad are anchovies, mustard, egg yolk, Parmesan cheese, and then I topped it up with some pepper. And I also got some shrimp that was already cooked, and then I grilled it. Shrimp that's grilled has a different taste than when it's just cooked. It gives it more of a char, earthy kind of taste. I find that already cooked shrimp, while it's very convenient, we just put it in food. Certain foods, it doesn't meld well. So after I grilled it, even though it's already cooked, and then put it into the salad, the Caesar dressing did all the work and flavored the salad really, really well. Okay, this is called Vietnamese caramelized pork bowl, and I found this on, it's called recipe tineats.com. And instead of using pork, I used ground chicken. And some of the ingredients in it were peanut oil, an onion, ginger. I use ginger powder instead. I rarely cook with fresh ginger because I never use up all the ginger. Bird's eye chili, that's a Thai red chili, brown sugar, fish sauce, and then I used some lo mein noodles, and then I topped it off with some scallion, and then I added some red bell pepper, and it was absolutely delicious. It cooked really quick, I think maybe like 30 minutes, and I will definitely be making this again. And the next two recipes I'm going to show you, I made by putting in a query in ChatGPT. So this is called spicy cumin noodles and with grilled chicken and string beans. So the recipe that I got on ChatGPT was only spicy cumin noodles. However, I needed some protein in it, and then I put my own spin on it. And just the background on this, I went to this restaurant in Manhattan called Bites of Xi'an. That's Xian. And Xi'an cuisine. Xi'an is a cuisine comes from the Shanxi province in eastern China, and it's at the end of the Silk Road. And this their cuisine is highlighted by Chinese flavors by as well as Middle Eastern flavors. And when I went to this restaurant, Bites of Xi'an, it's at 555 8th Avenue, I couldn't believe the flavor. I never tasted Asian Middle Eastern food before. And I was like, I have to replicate this sometime. I bought a Xi'an cooking book, and I get the recipes in there are in this cookbook I got are very involved. I wanted something that I could cook right away. So I put ChatGPT or query, and this is what it gave. So some of the ingredients in it are garlic, cumin seeds, cumin powder, soy sauce, black vinegar, sugar, peppercorns, Sichuan peppercorns. It was delicious. I really have to say, I was very surprised that ChatGPT could give me such a good recipe. And I topped it off with some cilantro. I also added some string beans. I also added some grilled chicken. The ChatGPT did not give me the string beans or the grilled chicken or the sesame seeds that that you see on top there, it was really a great meal. And this last recipe here, this is called grilled bison with tarragon mustard sauce. This was also a recipe I got from ChatGPT. So the story behind this is that I don't typically eat bison. I ate bison for the first time New Year's Eve 2023 going into 2024. I was going to go to a steakhouse with my father. However, on New Year's Eve, steakhouses are like $400 per person. So that was not going to happen. So I went to Whole Foods and I got porterhouse steaks and some bison steaks and I made it. So it's 10 months later. I still have the bison steak in my fridge and I wanted to use it. Then last weekend, I told you guys I was at my sister and we went to this farmer's market where we got some great deals on fresh oregano, fresh tarragon. I've never cooked like a meal with tarragon, actually. It's not one of the herbs I cook with regularly. So I put in a query and it came up with this delicious meal. So for the potatoes, what I did was I added some lemon juice, olive oil, salt, pepper, or fresh oregano. And then for the bison steaks, some of the ingredients in the bison steak were heavy cream, Dijon mustard, tarragon, shallot, butter, white wine. So it's kind of Frenchy, I think, with like the butter and the heavy cream. And bison is a very gamey. Gamey means it doesn't like taste like regular, like doesn't taste like cow. Okay, so it definitely has that gamey taste. So be careful if you haven't had this type of meat before because you may not like it. I like it. It's not something I can have all the time. It's something I can have on like a sometimes basis. So those are the recipes that I've been making. I'll put the links to some of them in the description so you can try them out for yourself. I hope you were inspired to cook. And let me tell you, if you want to cook, you don't have to go nuts. All these recipes I cooked right after I came home from work. None of them took me more than 45 minutes. 45 minutes would actually be a long time for me. I plan all of my meals. I actually plan all my meals for next week. That will be in the next episode of Food Fusion. So get cooking. I think that having something to look forward to with cooking is just one of the best things. Just like knowing my mouth is gonna have something different. It just makes the upcoming day special, knowing something's gonna be new and exciting. And yeah. So thanks for watching. Tell your friends, subscribe, like, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.